Hey guys, it's Cece from the Scream Queens. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It is free. It allows you to edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and it also distributes your podcast for you so it can be heard on many places such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. You can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's Anchor, ANCHOR.FM.
This episode is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Learn more at slashandcast.net.
You know I don't watch that shit.
Why not? Too scared?
No, it's just what's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Because nobody admits anything they've done!
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Scream Queens. I'm Cece.
And I'm Jess.
And we are here today to talk about some awesome stuff. As always, you know us. We're not going to be very spooky. Well, we're going to be spooky, but we're not going to be scary so much today.
No screaming.
Yeah, no brutal, horror, gruesome shit like that, you know, but still spooky and in the times. But before we get into that, we have some news, so I'm just going to go right into it. I actually was just browsing Bloody Disgusting, which is a great horror website if you ever want news. But I found something kind of interesting today. So Corey Feldman and Jamison Newlander, so the two that played the Frog Brothers in The Lost Boys, they're reuniting to do a YouTube series on Corey Feldman's YouTube. And it's going to be them, like, obviously now as they are, and they're kind of going to, like, because I guess they're good friends, so they're kind of, like, working together on this new series. They're going to be basically going around and doing, like, ghost hunting type stuff.
Wait, Corey Feldman has a YouTube channel?
Yeah, of course he does. He's a singer. He's a singer, and he still acts sometimes. Yeah, I know too much about that man. He's a weird dude. I grew up being obsessed with him, so I know a bit more than most people do, probably. I lately haven't followed him quite as closely because...
Are you not subscribed to his YouTube channel? Do you not have the bell on for notifications, Cece? What the heck? How are you going to call yourself a Corey Feldman fan?
Well,
this is the first I'm hearing of this YouTube channel.
I started to hear, like, things that were problematic about him, and I wasn't sure if they were real or not, so I kind of stepped back for a while. But I just saw this news, and I was like, this kind of really looks cool. There's actually a little bit of a teaser on his YouTube right now. You can check it out. They go to, like, Gettysburg and something else. So it looks kind of interesting, and I thought it was kind of cool. I hadn't heard about it until today. Second thing I wanted to talk about, and we talked about this yesterday, is the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster that came out.
Yes.
Or at least the picture of it. So I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it looks cool. The artist, did a good job, but I don't know. It's different. I know you said you liked it.
I kind of like the colors in it. It's a little different from anything we've seen, like the tones. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see why. What's the reasoning?
For sure. Like I think maybe I'll appreciate it more once I see, a trailer or just know a bit more about the new film. So from what I understand and how I'm reading it, it looks like it's going to be a direct sequel to the 1974 original. If I'm wrong, anybody that's listening, but that's how I'm reading it to be. We have had so many iterations of this franchise that have been shit. So I'm kind of excited if it takes a 2018 Halloween route. Hopefully it'll be good. So, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what do you guys think? Let us know on Twitter what you think about the poster, or if you have any thoughts about the movie. Yeah. But besides that, those are the two big things that I kind of came across today that were recent. Do you have anything for us about Universal HHN?
Yeah, so I have one thing that we just talked about. You actually brought it to my attention before we started recording. This coming weekend, which I just want to pull up the map just to make sure, the calendar, I'm sorry. So on the 24th and the 25th, Universal has extended their hours. Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, will both be open till 10 p.m., which that's the latest theme park I want to say that we've had since COVID.
Oh, absolutely. I think the latest I've seen any of the Disney parks was maybe 10 some days, and and then it went to 9 like right
8.
after. Yeah.
8 and 9 maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was like certain nights they had like randomly like 10. I think it was like Hollywood Studios or somewhere weird like Epcot, but it was very rare. But yeah, this is really kind of cool. I think it's probably because the capacity has been so high on the weekends. They're trying to spread it out throughout the hours. It also makes me happy because that means team members are getting paid, to be there and stuff like that. So
and then I looked just to make sure. On Halloween they're open till 9, so they did extend that as well. I think it's only been open till 8, and on the first they're open till 8. Every other day is still 5, like we've been having. But now, at least on the weekends, they're open, for that's like 14 hours straight. You can go through haunted houses at that point.
Yeah, that's cool. So, you guys, we are planning on doing kind of a full review of the event, or like little event that's going on this year in the next couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that. We're hopefully going to actually be attending the parks again this weekend to try to get, at least me, because I've only been once, to try to get a better feel on the houses again so that we can get this ready for you guys. So
yeah, and I'll be there multiple times because I'm already trying to plan when I'm going. But
is there anything else regarding that at the moment?
I saw some whisperings on Twitter of some merch starting to be discounted, but I don't want to put that out there.
Right, just so
for sure. But from what I've heard, and my sources have never steered me wrong, the store is 100% closing on November 1st or 2nd, the tribute store, and it will be turned into a Christmas store immediately after. So get your merch now, maybe wait a couple more days, and I'm pretty sure we'll see some discounts. But I do know that some things will probably be returning next year. So we might not see a discount on everything.
That's true. So
I
kind of hope there are some discounts because I like coupons and discounts. So.
Oh, me too. Me too.
But, well, I guess we can get right into our topic of the day then, since we don't really have any other prominent news. So like we said earlier, we're not going to be so much as horror based this week. We're going to do something fun and something nostalgic and something that I feel like a lot of our listeners will really enjoy, because I feel like most of you guys are in that similar age range where I feel like this will bring back some memories.
And it just had an anniversary, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yep, so we are talking about none other than Halloweentown, the Disney original channel film from 1998.
Yes, and this is part of the Spooky Bitchtober series. This is week 3.
Yes.
We haven't mentioned it yet, so I want to just keep that in.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually that's coming to a close very soon, but it's been very fun so far. But yeah, this is installment 3. And, well, what do you think? Should we kind of explain to them if people who haven't seen it, because we do know that like Wade saw it for his first time. Like,
yes, he did.
So
trapped him to the couch and we made him watch it. Me, Daniel, and Ashley. And I'm pretty sure he's right here. What did you think of Halloweentown overall?
I thought it was pretty good.
Pretty good?
I enjoyed it.
It sounds like I'm holding a gun to his head. I promise you I'm not.
No, like I get it. It's probably different feeling when you were, when we saw it growing up. And when
I saw it when this came out. I was literally 4 when this came out and I watched it. I remember it, but like I was Marnie.
Oh yeah, you and I, but we talked about that. We like she's like our spirit animal, so for sure.
Tell me I wasn't Marnie. There's no way, but yeah, we can just kind of go over it. I mean, do the plot we've been doing, talk about it.
Yeah, so you have Marnie, her sister Sophie, her brother Dylan. Their mom's name is Gwen. So they're basically all kind of different kids, you know, like just most families are. Everybody's got their own likes and dislikes. And Marnie herself is infatuated with weird stuff, with the occult, with Halloween in general. And she's just really wanting to, she's kind of been sheltered her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Their mom doesn't really let them go out trick-or-treating or really even celebrate Halloween. So we kind of go right into it with the family dynamic. Marnie is expressing her, you know, self being upset because she can't celebrate. She's like, I'm 13. It's been so many years and you haven't let me do it. I'm starting to finally grow up. When are you going to let me do this? You know?
I think she specifically wants to go to her best friend's costume party on Halloween.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
The scene is set when we go, the camera pans over, there's like kids trick-or-treating, the whole neighborhood's decorated, and then it zooms into the, what is her last name? Oh my goodness. Cromwell, thank you. Into the Cromwell family home. And Marnie and Sophie are looking outside the window, you know, longingly. And, well, no, I'm sorry, Sophie is, and then Marnie's yelling about the costume party.
Yeah. So you got Sophie. She's just trying to, like, yeah, like you said, look at all the fun everyone's having. Marnie has her friends over, and they're waiting for her mom to say yes so she can leave with them and go to the party. Dylan, their brother, he's one of those, like, I don't know how to describe him. He's a little know-it-all.
He is such a square. He's like, later on, he's like, she gets B's and C's, I get the A's. Like, he is such a little asshole.
I know, and he's like, why don't you try celebrating something like Arbor Day? And I was like, oh my God.
And he's just like, he says whatever mom says goes, which, like, I get, I was that kid, but also, like, have some fun.
Yeah, for sure. So he's, like, always dogging Marnie and trying to be, like, the little kiss ass to the mom, and it's just like, what the hell, man? Like, live a little bit. So Sophie's sitting there, and she kind of, like, she's saying somebody's coming, and you hear that, and then you kind of pans back over to Marnie, kind of upset. Her friends try to speak up for her, and then Gwen, the mom, she's just kind of like, you ladies can go, the show's over. Mm-hmm. She's like, I've had it with Marnie's attitude. And a few minutes later, just kind of after the arguing and everything, in comes Grandma, Aggie Cromwell. She's here to visit. She comes every Halloween. She is played by none other than Debbie Reynolds, which such an amazing woman. I love her. So she comes in to celebrate with the kids. The kids are so ecstatic to see her because they only see her so often. And she's just a great fun. She's like the cool ass grandma that you're like always picture, you know, in movies and stuff like that. She brings her bag of holding, as I like to call it, like D&D terms, because that thing is never ending. There's just shit coming out of it all the time.
I called her Mary Poppins bag when I was little because that was the only thing I could relate to it. But yeah.
You know what's funny about that you say that is I was reading some trivia on this movie, and she was actually one of the people that they were going to possibly cast as Mary Poppins. Isn't that interesting?
That makes sense. I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, I know. I'm like, I like that, but I like her role in this so much. So I'm just like, this is like the spooky Mary Poppins. Yeah. So she's getting out costumes and candy, and mom puts a quick halt to it. She's like, let's go eat dinner. We get, you know, they have dinner, they're talking. Marnie's just kind of just still so happy that grandma's there because grandma gets her, and she's talking to grandma about all these cool things. And so after dinner, grandma's about to leave, and they're like, oh, can you tell us a bedtime story? They go upstairs, and she starts telling them about this place called Halloweentown, and brings out a book, starts looking through the pages. And one big thing that's noticeable is Sophie points out is there's a witch flying on a broom, and it looks just like Marnie. And this is that moment that, like, when I rewatched it, like, I was like getting emotional because I'm like, oh my God, I love that. She's like, it is me. And I'm like, oh my God, stop.
And I felt like such a bitch because we were watching it, and I literally was like, well, that's reaching. That could be any white brunette girl.
Oh my God.
That could have been me when I was 13. Like,
Yeah, no, I get it.
but like, I didn't mean to be such a bitch, and Daniel was like, you said reaching. And I was like, I know. But like, I think that's kind of the beauty in it. It could be anybody.
Yeah.
like philosophical.
It was cute though, and like
But like, you know Aggie did that. Aggie was pulling some shit to get Marnie to be like, ooh.
Yeah, she would throw little things in here and there, like because they'll pan to her face and she'll make these faces like, oh, I see they're catching on.
Yeah.
Dylan's like, he grabs a book. No, she's way too cute to be you, like, because he's always messing with Marnie and just being a weirdo.
Little brother.
Exactly, a pain in the ass. And so then it kind of comes to where Gwen, the mother, she's like, all right, guys, it's time for bed now. Grandma's got to go. Her and Grandma are downstairs kind of arguing a little bit. You hear them start to talk about training and witch training for Marnie, and Marnie's actually walking down the steps in her pajamas, trying to listen in on the conversation. She hears a bit of it, and her interest is piqued for sure. So she runs back upstairs, starts getting ready.
But first, she sees Grandma fried chicken into a whole chicken. First, you have to talk about this because she's like, what? There's no way I'm a witch. Da-da-da. And then Grandma's like, what? And then the chicken turns into a chicken. And she's like, what the fuck?
I love that part though. She's like, don't you know, Gwen, chickens are best left on the bone. And then the freaking chicken. I'm like, I love that. That scene is so hilarious.
And then she runs upstairs to her brother.
Yep.
And she's like, Dylan. And while she's doing this, she's like going in and out of her closet changing.
Yes.
And I love it because it's so 90s.
I know. I'm like, she's like got this like lime green shirt on. She throws over the little
orange, like
the thing her grandma gives her.
It was a witch costume, but like, I don't know. It was like a cape. I don't know if it was a cape. The orange overcoat. We'll call it an overcoat.
Yeah. It's got like purple and orange, like flowy stuff on it. It's really cute. And I'm like, I kind of want to cosplay her one year.
Oh my God, it'd be so
cute. So yeah, she's just getting ready. She's like, and Dylan's just like, okay, what the hell? What are you talking about? He doesn't believe any of this stuff, right? And so he's just like trying to keep her from going. She sneaks out the front door. Grandma had already left actually at this point. Mom is just down there kind of putting all the food away for the night. Just her face is like deadpan on the television. She's not really paying attention to around her surroundings. Mm-hmm. And Marnie sneaks out. A few seconds later, you see Dylan right behind Marnie. He's like, I'm going to follow you because I'm the responsible one and I need to see what's going on. Or
he
if that you're crazy.
The man of the house.
Does he say that?
He says, I'm the man of... I was literally rewatching this, and I watch it every year, but this year, for some reason, certain little things were just sticking. He's like, I'm the man of the house, so I have to protect you. And I was like, you are 12, and she is 13. I don't understand what you're going to do, buddy.
I love it. He also goes, I also want to see if you're crazy or not. Because
that definitely happens, which...
Yeah.
Same.
She was saying like because Grandma's bag was like moving by itself following her.
Yeah, he said it must be one of those remote control ones.
I know, I freaking crack up at that every time. Like, he's such a freaking jerk, but like his lines are so funny.
Yeah.
So you see Grandma, she's got this random bus stop she's waiting for, and they end up just jumping on the bus. They go to the back, so that's how they get on.
And the fire exit, the buzzing never goes off.
Yeah, like it's not one of those buses.
There's an emergency exit in the back of the bus, and the little buzzing noise that we've all heard on the bus, it never went off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not trying to call out the flaws in this movie. I just need answers.
No, it's just funny to like kind of like really like think about it.
I'm like, why did it go off? I know kids did. I didn't think about this when I was little, but I need to know now.
Right? So they're like on the bus. They're like kind of freaked out a little bit because they see all these kinds of creatures. There's like a Frankenstein's monster style dude. There's like some other like weird creature. I don't really remember. And they're talking like making jokes to each other like normal people, like whatever. Like they just
on a bus.
Yeah, they just got back from the mortal world. They're heading back home.
And they can go there a year.
Yep. They were talking about their visit there because, like, the Frankenstein's monster one was like, I went to a store and some little girl was scared and ran away from me or something like that.
Yeah, she went up and went, boo! She tried to scare him or something, yeah.
Yeah, because she probably thought he was just wearing a costume or whatever. Right. And then so they get to Halloweentown after a wild ride because this bus like goes into like, into a new world. So it's like the bus shaking and all this crazy stuff. So they make it there, they get off the bus, and all of a sudden they turn around and Sophie's behind them getting off the bus, and they're like, where the heck did you come from? And she's like, I followed you guys. So all three of them are just kind of hanging out. They're checking out the area. Now, Sophie must have heard some things too because they talk about, because earlier I failed to mention, Aggie was speaking to Gwen about the fact that something weird's going on in Halloweentown, and actually that's why she came there that year, to kind of recruit her to come back home. Yep. So Sophie had overheard it as well and said, we gotta help Grandma with the bad thing. Which is interesting. Teddy and I were watching it. As soon as she says, we got to help her with the bad thing, she's looking a certain way. And the way she's looking, this is foreshadowing if you haven't seen the movie. Go watch it now before I talk about this. Mayor Calabar walks over.
Yeah, no, that's intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you can tell.
I feel like every time the bad thing's mentioned, he or something about him comes up right after.
Yeah.
As like a foreshadowing thing in the movie.
Yep. And that's what, like, I never really noticed it growing up because, I just enthralled in whatever's going on. But, like, now, like, Teddy pointed out to me. So he comes over. He's, like, on the surface, a really nice guy, the mayor of Halloweentown. He's just trying to play with Sophie. She tells him her name is Sophie. And he's like, what? I can't hear you. What? Soapy? And he pulls, like, soap from out of her ear or whatever, like a magic trick. So he's just like, oh, you guys are the Cromwell kids, blah, blah, blah. Is your mother here? There's that exchange. He gets them a cab to go to Grandma's, and it is driven by one of the best characters of the entire film, Benny. He's the cab driver. He's a skeleton.
Benny's head right here. I have a skull candle that like bleeds when you light it, and it looks like Benny.
I love Benny. Like, do we know, like, was he like an animatronic or how was he made? Do you
want to say he's a puppet?
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
I like him. I love his eyebrows and everything and how cool they move. Like, I love
it. Was like Jim Henson's like studio. Now you've piqued my interest. Now I must find out.
Definitely check that out for me. But yeah, they get into his cab. He's like a funny guy. He's always telling like stupid jokes. He gets them over to Aggie's house. So they get to Grandma's. They're talking to Grandma. She's like, I came to learn about my witch training. And while they're talking, Grandma's making a spell in her cauldron. And she sees a hooded figure appearing. And she's like, I gotta activate Merlin's talisman with a spell so that I can defeat this evil creature, because she knows something bad was going on. She noticed, like, people in her neighborhood were changing. People that are normally like really friendly people had become like not so friendly anymore, and actually eventually disappearing. So unfortunately the instant potion she uses doesn't work to light the talisman. So she talks to the kids about these ingredients she's going to need to actually light it the correct way, because the instant didn't work. So they go into town. They're meeting some more people. They go up to the broom shop. So Marnie's like, oh my God, can I get a broom, Grandma? Really, please? I love the salesman. He's like an Elvis guy. he cracks me up. He's like, well, hello. What can I get you today? Like, he's just hilarious. Like, you gotta have the Sweeper 5000 or whatever it is he says.
Yeah. Wait, before we go on, apparently Benny, they're calling him a robot, which means he was probably an animatronic.
Okay.
Which is
That's really cool to me, though. I love that.
Yeah, it says that Kimberly J. Brown, who played Marnie, was like, he wasn't a person in a costume and he wasn't CG. He was a robot. So I just remember him going like, zoop, 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 every time he moved. And I find that interesting.
That's cool, though. I love that. Because I love animatronics, too. Like, I'm fascinated by them. So that's really cool. My favorite thing about him is his eyebrows and how well they move. Because, like, later on, you'll see why, and we'll talk about it. His eyebrows are very important.
Yes.
To kind of distinguish him because he's a skeleton. So they're checking out the brooms. There's this kid comes by named Luke, who, you know, he was made handsome by a shadow demon. He tries to make a pass at Marnie, and she's like, nah, man, who the hell are you? Like,
Benny also warned her about him on the way to grandma's, so she had nothing to do with that evil person.
Yeah, he was like, I'm kind of a big cheese around here, and she's like, I must have smelled something stinky, the big cheese. Like, I love that. And then even Dylan's like, nah, bro, get out of here or whatever.
Yeah.
She makes her way. She keeps the broom that he originally kind of recommended to her. She's like, I really do like this one. So her and Aggie fly it out. So you get a cute scene of her and Aggie on the broom flying. You know, it's very cheesy, but it's cute. I like it. It's whimsical, but it's very green screeny, but I love it.
It's cute.
Yeah, it is. It's like a nice moment. So they get back down, and guess who's there? Mom comes in. Mom made her way to Halloweentown. She's pissed. She's like, all right, you know, Mom, she, like, Gwen says to her mom, Aggie, she's like, I got to take the kids back. I don't know. They're in big trouble for coming here. However, they have some issues getting back because they're, the bus driver people are not very efficient, and it's going to take a while for the bus to come. So she's like, all right, well, I need to go speak to the mayor about this, because she was going to be a Karen for a minute there.
Yeah.
So, you know, comes into the mayor's office. He's chilling, and like, he's got this little bat guy. He's like, oh, somebody's here to see you.
I love him.
I know, he's so cute.
I love him.
He's so funny. And then Gwen walks in, and the bat is like, or whatever. I can't do the whistle very good, but
I can't whistle, so you're already better than me.
He's like, woo, woo, you know, that one whistle? And like, he shoves him back down in
the coffin.
Yep. And his eyes get wide because he is clearly in love with Gwen, and you kind of they talk about it a little later, but so
they dated.
Yes, they did.
They were younger.
Yep. See, I couldn't remember when I rewatched it this time if they had dated or if he was like a Snape the whole time. You know what I mean?
No, they dated when they were like teenagers.
Yeah, and then she fell in love with her mortal husband.
Her mortal, who passed away. So she's a single mom. I don't know if we ever mentioned that.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't think we mentioned it, but yeah, and
she detests all things magic because she wants to be normal.
Exactly, yeah. She's like, you know, I took my kids back here years ago so they grow up to be normal kids. I don't really want anything to do with it, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, she's like, oh, wow, hey, Calabar. And he's like, wow. You know, and he gives her a rose. There's like a weird whole thing. So Calabar ends up making the conversation short because he's got something else to deal with.
Mm.
So they're just still walking around because they're still waiting or whatever. Aggie gets called on by Luke to follow him somewhere, right? They see her, because Aggie wasn't in the town hall with them. It was just the mom and the kids getting ready to leave. So Luke and Aggie are walking towards the old movie theater. So mom sees them. It's kind of like, what's going on here? So meanwhile, in the theater, Aggie goes in and she meets the hooded creature that she saw in her pot earlier. And he's kind of going on and on about how he wants to take over Halloweentown and make it evil again, because in the past, they talk about it earlier in the movie that they're when Aggie's explaining it to the kids that there was dark times in the past, and but they wanted to bring it back to being like a happier place, and so he wants to bring it back to like the dark times, and he's this creepy weirdo, and he's like, I know you have the talisman, Merlin's talisman. I want you to retrieve it to me and all this stuff. So in come the kids and Gwen is, she loves her mother. So when he's threatening Aggie, Gwen kind of pushes her to the side and kind of sacrifices herself. So what he does to people is he kind of freezes them. And they kind of just set still in this theater. So the freezing spell hit Gwen, the mother. So she's stuck, and then all of a sudden he just starts trying to hit everybody. So he gets next Aggie, and she's stuck. The kids are like, let's go. We got to get out of here. We got to figure things out on our own because mom and grandma are stuck. And then so they go back to grandma's house, and they're trying to remember like the spell. I guess Marnie actually had written down the ingredients that were needed for the spell earlier on. She pulls out a list. Mm-hmm. So they're going over town, and they're trying to, this is actually one of my favorite parts because I think it's really fun. You get to see a lot of the different creatures in Halloweentown and stuff during this time. So they need like the sweat of a ghost, the fang of a werewolf, the fang of a vampire, hair of the werewolf. So it's kind of funny. It's like a fun little, I don't even say montage because it's not really even a montage because there is like actual scenes and like dialogue. But it's just a fun part of the movie as they go to like select all these items and get them together.
And it's just the kids doing it by themselves because obviously mom and grandma. And it's just cute to see like they trap a ghost in a little sweat box, and they're like, we're so sorry, but we really need this.
Yeah, and like they're like, she's like, distract him, and freaking like Sophie puts on like a little sheet, and she's like, woo. He's like, hey, that's really offensive.
Yeah, and then like for the vampire, she's like, oh, Doc, is it going to hurt?
Yes.
And then like she ggets it, or the doc or the dentist pulls it out, and she's like, that didn't hurt at all. And I remember that like vividly from being a child.
Yes, that lady was like so weird. She was like, I have a sweet tooth, and I'm like, oh my god. And I love the werewolf too because he's like this barber and he's so sassy.
Yeah.
She's like, can I get a job here? And he's like, no, we're not hiring. And then she ends up like taking her like clippers and getting it to his head and like grabbing some of his hair.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Oh man, this is just like one of the best parts of the movie. Because because you have your conflict, but it takes you out from that for a minute. It makes you go back to like the fun part of it. And so as they're talking, we're actually coming to kind of the close of the movie already. So it's a pretty quick movie. It's fun. It's a great watch. Again, if you've gotten this far and you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's great. It might not hit you as good as it did when we were kids because it was just something we grew up on, so it has a lot of nostalgia feel to us. But definitely watch it. It's on Disney Plus. We'll talk more too because there's some sequels, and we'll briefly hint on those too. But excuse me. So they realize, they're like, okay, this talisman, it needs to be lit, right? So what is gonna make, I don't know how to describe this part. It's like, what is it gonna take to get things lit up by the talisman, right? So she's like, mortal see, mortal do. What do mortals do on Halloween? They light up their jack-o'-lanterns. Mm-hmm. So there's this big jack-o'-lantern in the middle of this town. So Marnie's smart, and she realizes, hey, this talisman needs to go in the middle of that jack-o'-lantern to kind of light things up, right? So they're getting prepared. They've got the concoction ready because there's a scene where Marnie does not remember the spell that Grandma was doing, but Sophie. And the thing is Sophie remembers it. She made it into a song, which a lot of times if you turn something into a song, it's a lot easier to remember. That's just like a psychological thing that actually is true. And so they get it done, her and Sophie, and they go back into town. So they're trying to avenge Grandma and Mom. Luke comes in actually at one point, and he apologizes to Marnie because he's like, I did this because I wanted to be handsome, but I didn't realize how far he was going to go. One thing I forgot to mention, and I know you kind of probably got it from what we were saying earlier, is that the hooded creature reveals himself to be Calabar, the mayor. So this is actually happening right now during this scene, just about, because Luke's on the ground talking to Marnie. Calabar's in front of the town talking to everyone, saying how he wants everyone to join him. So basically they're like, we need to do something to stop this. Luke, again, he's apologizing. And so all of a sudden you kind of see the crowd, like the crowd's very like not into Calabar. They don't want to go bad. You can tell they're kind of like, oh, they're scared. But all of a sudden you see like Marnie's, or I think it's Aggie's actual hood. I think she's, is being worn and walking
her
through.
Cloak, yeah.
Yeah, her cloak, and it's being worn by someone, and he calls her out. He's like, oh, young Cromwell, what are you doing? Are you coming to stop me? Give me the talisman. And he's like yelling at her, and then he ends up doing the freeze spell. The person falls down and you realize it's not Marnie. It was Luke. He went undercover to kind of try to distract him so that she could, on the other hand, run up to the jack-o'-lantern and throw the talisman in. She gets pretty far up on top of the jack-o'-lantern, but then she gets hit with his with his powers as well, so she freezes. Mm-hmm. It's a very tense scene right now where she's stuck there, but like it's in her hands still, but it slightly looks like it's gonna fall in. It's like, and they kind of like do like she has one of those like life flashing before her eyes, like memories that come flashing back to her while she's like barely conscious or whatever. And all of a sudden she like moves just enough to where the talisman drops into the jack-o'-lantern and it lights up the town. This unfreezes her and everyone trapped in the theater. Everybody's running back out to town. Calabar's a little weak now from that. And then we've got a really epic scene, right? So we've got Gwen coming back, Aggie coming back, the kids. They're all, Aggie stands in front of them. She's confronting Calabar. She's trying to use, her spell and her magic to kind of weaken him more and more. And unfortunately, he's too powerful at this point. Just her is not really working. So, Gwen kind of grabs her hand. She's like, I need to do this for my family, even though she's kind of hesitant. So she grabs her hand. Marnie obviously goes right in. Sophie goes in, and they're like, we need all the Cromwell witches to work together. Now you see Dylan sitting there with his hands crossed, like he doesn't want to try to help, because at one point you see his hands do like a little twitch, like he has powers.
There's like blue sparks coming out of his fingertips or something.
Yeah. Which I love that, because he's like this non-believer the whole time.
He says it's static electricity.
Yep. And she's like, come on, we need you. And he's like, all right. And then with all their powers combined, they kind of, what did they do? It was like a flash of light, like Calabar kind of like disappeared into a flash of light or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so that happens. That's like the epic showdown at the end of the movie. Luke is returned back to his goblin appearance, but he still gets a kiss from Marnie, which is so cute. I love that. And then the family, so the mom asks Aggie if she would like to come back to live with them back in the mortal world. And I believe she agrees to it. And they're going to do Marnie's training, and Aggie wanted to do it, but then Gwen goes, you know what? I'm going to do it. Yep. She's my kid. I want to do it. So So yeah, basically a happy ending. They all go back to the mortal world. They're gonna live together, and they're gonna finish Marnie's training, and I'm sure eventually the other kids' training. Now, personally, I have not seen the sequels at all. I'm pretty sure I might have seen some scenes from the second movie, but I've never seen the full thing. I hear mixed reviews on some of them. I hear 4 is nothing to worry about at all. I heard it's just because they changed Marnie completely, and I just heard it's not watchable. But Jess, do you have a little bit to at least touch on the second and third movie at all?
Well, I want to talk about all 3 because I have watched all 4 of these movies religiously since I was a child.
Okay.
So the sequel is called Halloweentown 2, Calabar's Revenge.
With a K this time, though. It's a C in the first movie, right? Did you ever notice that?
It was always a K.
No, but if you look at, I'm telling you, if you look at the credits in the first movie, it says Calabar with a C. It's weird. And then
I've always spelled it with a K, but
I know it is supposed to be a K.
Well, the Calabar's revenge of it all is that his son,
Cal,
is his son. So I won't really spoil that. I like the sequel. It touches on Marnie's training. You get to see how Grandma's living in the mortal world. I love the second one, but my favorite is actually the third. I'm a loser. It's called Halloweentown High, and I love the third one. It is amazing. And what it is that Marnie and Aggie have petitioned to like the Warlock and Witches Council to get like kids from Halloweentown to come to high school in the mortal world and learning how to adapt to the mortal world. And some of them have to wear like different outfits and covers and skins so they look normal. And just I actually think it's kind of a really cool commentary on like racial discrimination for kids to understand, and like just being discriminated because you're different, because they're kind of treated like shit. Okay. I love the third one. I just think it's right on my little righteous heart. And the fourth one, they completely replaced Kimberly J. Brown with Sarah Paxton as Marnie, but it's Return to Halloweentown, and they go to college in Halloweentown. I love it, but it's darker. It's more like Descendants than anything, honestly.
Okay.
And it bugs me that they changed Marnie to Sarah Paxton, but I understand why. She was a little old at that point to play Marnie, because it had been like 15 years.
Yeah.
You're 30 at that point. You can't play an 18-year-old. But everyone else was the same, and that was the issue. Every other actor was the same. Her brother, the same.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't understand why, but if you take it out of the other 3 movies, it's a good movie.
Okay. So it's like one of those. I get that.
Yeah. But I also just I love every DCOM ever. So they can do no wrong. So I just love these movies. Like growing up, I loved anything that was remotely Halloween that wasn't scary, because I was too scared to watch anything horror. So this was my Halloween. I would binge these movies every month or every year in October.
Yeah.
If they were on 31 Days of Halloween or whatever.
Yeah. I grew up on this this movie. I'm one of those people, I really love Hocus Pocus and have a lot of appreciation for it, but I feel like I prefer Halloweentown a bit more, just because I feel like I have more of a connection with that movie, because I think I watched it much more as a kid. I really am interested in watching the other ones now, because from what you're saying, they sound really good, and I would love to see them. So it was something I was planning on doing anyway. It's just that I hadn't really had a chance to watch them all before this episode, so I figured we would just touch on the OG. Specifically because there are probably a lot of people out there probably didn't even know there were sequels as well. So they're all on Disney Plus too, if you want to check them out. But yeah, yeah, I love it. There's just this feeling of, when you talk about those movies that are just perfect for Halloween season, this is one of those, because the whole thing is just even when they're in the mortal world, it's Halloween night, so you've got trick-or-treaters out, you've got costumes going on, you've got fall leaves. It's this along with Trick or Treat, those are 2 movies that really put me in the Halloween spirit. Halloween itself, the OG movie too, there's just so many movies that really bring me back, and this is one of them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know because we're doing the whole Spooky Bitchtober thing. Yeah, we're doing 3 horror movies, but we wanted to include a movie that gave us Halloween feels that necessarily wasn't a horror movie, and I think Halloweentown was the best choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Hocus Pocus. I think I love them equally, but that's because I watched them both religiously my entire life. So it's like I watched them both in October, Halloweentown, Hocus Pocus, back and forth.
Yeah.
From, like the Universal, the HHN Travel Channel documentary. And that was my October every year.
Yeah. I need to rewatch Hocus Pocus. It's been a long time. I think I have it on DVD, so hopefully I'll watch it. Maybe we'll pop it on for the Halloween day or the night before when we're hanging out. But yeah, it's a good one. I do watch one of those films or more every Halloween. Like I'll either watch Trick or Treat Halloween, Halloweentown, Hocus Pocus. Like they're all like really great, and they kind of bring, especially for people like us who live in Florida, we don't really get fall weather or fall leaves or anything like that. It's kind of nice to just like think about, places that do, and it's kind of cool. Did you have anything else to go over about the movie, or any fun facts or anything you were able to come up with?
I know I watched it. Did I watch it Saturday? Saturday was 22 years since the movie came out.
Yeah, and Kimberly J. Brown did make a big post on Facebook about it. I actually shared it. It's really cute. From what I understand, I think I found this out about a year or so ago. She has her own Etsy shop, so she makes a lot of Halloweentown merchandise and shirts and stuff like that too. So you guys should definitely check that out.
And I have a fun fact. I know one.
What?
She is dating the man who plays Calabar's son in the second movie.
That's what I thought. I thought that was him.
So they met, during the movie, whatever, lost touch, and then like 5 years ago reconnected doing something, and they started dating.
That's so cool.
And they post like from her Etsy shop all the time wearing the shirts.
That's too cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need to get something from her, because I feel like I know she's more in the public eye than like a small shop person would be, but I also feel like she's not like doing a whole lot so much, so I would like to support her. And she's like directly influenced and has always loved being a part of this franchise and stuff like that.
And I know she took some of the props and costumes. She has a TikTok, and so she posts on TikTok, and I unapologetically watch them.
I saw the one from the other day. It was so cute.
I'm always like, what has she posted lately? And she's like, does the hat still fit? And I'm like, yes, it does. Better.
Yes, I think that's the one I saw. Like 1 second she was dressed normal, and then she like snapped and she had her whole outfit on. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. I love it.
No, I just love these movies.
Me too. I really need to get on top of watching the other ones.
Yes.
But yeah, so do we want to cover, just to maybe get everybody excited, something different than we usually do? So usually I'll tease on Twitter what's coming up next week. Jess, it's up to you. Do you want to just give it to them now to kind of get them ready and excited for next week's episode, or do you want?
I mean, should I get my little friend to come to help me?
I mean, they're not gonna see it, but I will.
He needs to be a part of it because it's fun, and they can know what I have in my hand. I can post a picture on Twitter later.
That's true.
I'm gonna take a picture.
That's what we can do. Let's not say it, but let's post the picture.
Should I just take a selfie of me and him, or the picture of us?
You. Because it will be a better quality. To be fair. But yeah,
sorry, I'm taking the selfie. CC talk.
You're good.
Go on Twitter to find out what next week's movie is.
We're gonna leave it at that. Go on Twitter tonight, because we're dropping this episode in a very short time from now, actually.
Yeah, I won't post the picture until the episode's posted.
Yep. So you'll see it by then. So you guys will see the picture in the tweet where we usually post at midnight Eastern when the episode goes up. A little teaser for what's coming next week, and it'll be obvious as hell.
Oh, yeah.
One of Jess's favorite films. I'll leave it to that. But yeah. So do you want to go into some housekeeping, or do you have any other thoughts before we do that, or?
No thoughts. I'll go into housekeeping. I feel like we said everything. Oh, we didn't talk about the one scene where Benny's evil. Why the eyebrows matter.
Yeah, I know. I didn't.
So what happens, guys, is the bad thing, what Aggie is noticing is that one day her neighbors will be fine. She'll interact with them, and then the next day they're mean and vicious, and then they just disappear. So her friend, oh my gosh, what was her friend's name?
Oh my God. Harriet, is it?
Sure, we'll go with Harriet. Harriet sounds right.
I think that's her name.
Aggie, I'm going to help out at the headless shelter. You know, poor souls lost their heads or whatever. And then the next day she's like hissing at her. She's like, when Aggie bumps into her. So one day the kids, like later on, after grandma and mom get like frozen or whatever in the theater, they go up to Benny, and Benny's like mean and evil, and like his eyebrows are like furrowed, and he's like, get in the car, and he like grabs onto, does he grab onto Marnie or Sophie?
I think he grabs Dylan.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, and Sophie's like, to a dog, and she's like, go get him, and then she lets this dog off the leash, and the dog's going after him because he's all bones.
Yep. So yeah, that scene,
that scene's great, but he's so, it scared me when I was younger because I really loved Benny, and like when he went bad, I was like freaked out.
Oh yeah. No.
One other fun thing I totally forgot to mention. Halloweentown was filmed in St. Helens, Oregon. And they, from what I understand, they do a celebration, I think almost every year.
They put the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern goes up, and yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of like, it's like, they kind of set it up like the Halloweentown town. Which is
Kimberly J. Brown went recently.
Yeah, I think she goes sometimes, and people can meet her or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure it might not have happened this year due to COVID or whatever, but I would love to go there one time during it. I think that would be amazing.
Yes, agreed.
Wow.
It'll happen one day.
Yeah, for sure.
One day once COVID's gone.
All right.
Yeah, housekeeping. So, you guys know the drill. If you want to follow us on Twitter, that is our most active social media. We are working on Instagram. It is getting better, I promise. But Twitter's just going to have the more up-to-date information. And if you just want to talk to us, we're kind of always there. Our Twitter is @ScreamQueens85. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it is the Scream Queens Podcast. And, you know, we do post there sometimes. And then if you want to follow either of our personals, they're on our Twitter and our Instagram. They're linked. You can find us on there. If you want to email us, you can. We will respond to you if you have a question, or if you want to tell us something exciting and it doesn't fit in 240 characters. Our email is thescreamqueens85@gmail.com.
You put the V in there?
Yeah, the screamqueens85@gmail.com. Yep. I did it. I'm going to write these down one day. We do have a Ko-Fi or a coffee. I don't know how to say it.
I say Ko-Fi, but...
We have a Ko-Fi. We also have a link tree. We have all that. Just look up Scream Queens. Everything's linked there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have some merch on the way. If anyone's interested, let us know. Maybe we can put Lydia on some shirts.
Oh, I hope so. Something.
Not the character from Beetlejuice. I mean, we love Winona, but
our little bat that, if you caught an episode, I don't even remember what episode it was on. It was a while ago. We named her Lydia, our little bat from our logo. So
yes.
So yeah, thank you guys as always for listening, supporting. You guys are awesome. We are also part of an awesome network called the Slash and Cast Podcast Network.
Yep.
Check them out. There's a lot of different podcasts involved in the network. We are growing more and more every day. Most of the podcasts are horror based, but not all. There are some wrestling ones. And just some other mishmash stuff, not necessarily even just horror movies. There's like some fun stuff about like let's say true crime, just a lot of stuff like that. So definitely check them out. They are on Twitter and YouTube as well. And Yeah. But you guys stay spooky out there.
Yes.
And wear your masks, please. Wash your hands. Do all that good stuff. Stay distant from others. Please go out and vote. I'm using this as my soapbox for a moment. I'm not going to say what to do or who whatever, but I am going to say please exercise your right.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you, Jess, as always, for being here with me and pulling ourselves together to do this. This little baby that we made.
I'm going to sleep. I have to go work tomorrow and sell Halloween costumes.
Supposed to, so I got to be up early too. So, but yeah, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.